today. So we are going to go over just a brief history of the guitar, particularly the acoustic guitar. We won't get into the electric guitar today because obviously we deal most of the acoustic, so we're just going to stay in that realm. So anyway, all right, so the ancestors of the guitars, all right, and it's an instrument called a lute, all right, and a lute is a half-pair shaped string instrument. It has 13 to 14 strings grouped in 4 or 5 courses, and it was often strummed with a quill feather. Okay, and this instrument was in predominant use in the Renaissance period. For those of you who don't know what the Renaissance period is, it basically came after the Middle Ages, which is like the ages of knights and kings and that sort of thing. During the Renaissance period, it's historically known as Renaissance means rebirth, okay? And so it was a time when thinking was starting to evolve. So in the Middle Ages, you didn't have, people weren't really free to express themselves. You know, universities weren't erected and people didn't go to better themselves. It was very, very controlled and just really dark. And I think, you know, they call it the Dark Ages for a reason. So it was really bad times. But during the Renaissance period, when the lute first entered, everybody was expanding their minds. Universities were erected, people were getting educated, and also people were learning how to read music. And so the lute was very much an instrument that was in play. And it was the guitar of the Renaissance period. So that was very, very interesting for sure. Then we have the oud, I believe is how we pronounce that word. The oud is basically the same as the lute. However, it is much larger. It doesn't have any frets and has a smaller neck, all right? And it had 11 to 13 strings grouped in 5 or 6 courses. And don't worry, we have pictures to show you guys. So that is a lute right there, okay? So just kind of notice that right here. So this is the front of the lute, and that's the back of the lute. It's almost like a gourd, very rounded. And you notice the headstock is completely bent to a 90-degree angle, I do believe. This was the guitar of the Renaissance period, all right? Very popular during its day, and actually sounds really pretty. And if you look here, see, we can see the frets are here, but it looks like it's almost got frets on the back. Now, you wouldn't put your fingers back here, but it's almost what it looks like. So we have frets, which we have frets on our guitars, and I have a little video for you guys to watch, so you can get a better understanding of what a lute actually sounds like. Let's see here. And before I start this video, something to kind of keep in mind is the lute that's being used in this video it's not as simplistic as that lute. It has more strings basically, and you'll hear the professional talk about it. So here we go.
This is a lute, but it's one of like 20 different types of lutes you can have with different number of strings, different tunings. It surprises some people that the last lute player we know was alive as Schubert was still alive, so well into the 19th century, and it only sort of fell dormant for about 100 years, and then people revived it in the early 20th century. And often the best, most attractive part is the back, which you rarely see because it's hidden. Originally, the lute came from the Arabic oud, the lute, brought over with the Crusades and then adapted in Europe. And it grew incrementally, so around 1500 it was like a 12-string guitar, just had 6 pairs. And this one, which was the largest it ever got during the time of Bach, it's got 13 pairs of strings. And it's likely that Bach didn't play the lute, but it was around, it was still an important instrument then, and he knew how it worked. For the tuning of it, this is actually tuned in a chord of D minor, starting with F, F, D, A, and then F, D, A, and then from there, it goes down in a scale of the pairs of strings are tuned in octaves. So I get the tune. And that happened throughout the lute's history, that when you have notes too deep for the strings to sound clear, they added an octave above to give clarity. There are 3 or 4 different types of tablature. Good lute players should be able to read from music and know what notes you're playing. But tablature works pretty much like electric guitar tab for people copying the great electric players. You have 6 lines, and either you have letters of the alphabet that represent open strings or which fret, and then you have rhythm above. In some countries they use numbers instead of letters in a couple of forms, and in Germany in the 16th century they had a different symbol for each place of the lute. So you write it on blank paper, you didn't have to have lines. It's a diagram form, and it tells you exactly where here to place your finger. It doesn't often tell you which fingers to use. You know, from the certainly from its beginning in Europe, the lute was used to accompany the voice and to play on its own. And in the 16th century, you would have had accompaniments written, or you could make accompaniments, but they were contrapuntal accompaniments. When basso continuo started around 1600, the lute and the other instruments of the lute family were used for accompaniment from the bass, and you have sometimes numbers to tell you what chords to play, and then exactly how you put it together is the improvised part of it. I have to think of what key I'm in now. So, a very typical 4-note figure that we get in a lot of music is a descending half scale 4 notes. On your own, but normally the improvising that went was when accompanying somebody from a bass line. Everybody has their favourite repertoire. I mean, most of it's by lute players, and they wrote music that they played. So Dowland, who was the English one around 1600, he's certainly one of my favourites, probably everybody's. Francesco da Milano, about 3 generations earlier in Italy, first half of the 16th century. Wonderful, beautiful music. And then Weiss, Sylvius Weiss, who was contemporary with Bach, who left us mostly suites, which he called sonatas.
So we'll stop right there. So that's the lute. What do you guys think about that? Interesting, right?
It's a lot.
You
It's a lot of strings.
Yeah, a lot of strings, right? Obviously, if you look at this picture here, the strings, there's not as many strings on that one. Well, let me start over there. Not start over, just, yeah. So you can kind of see there's not as many strings on this one. Looks like there's probably 6 on that one. But it still plays the same. It does have that medieval kind of Renaissance-y kind of sound to it for sure. I think it's a very interesting instrument. And here's the owl. So it looks a lot like the lute. The only thing is the body here is a lot bigger, but the neck is smaller. So, but other than that, the construction is still very much the same. And I have a little video on that as well. Hopefully it went well. All right, here we go. So here we go. Let's see here. Let's see. Pardon the technical difficulty. Sometimes they want to work, sometimes they don't. Perfect. Start that one over. Okay. You can't see it. I thought you guys would be able to see it. Yeah. The weird thing about this particular computer. All right. Perfect. Here we go. Start over. See, the body's a lot bigger than the lute we just saw. It's basically for a ball around it. the sound of the two instruments together.
The sound of that was kind of like sharper and not as
Yeah.
silent.
A lot brighter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too. And that could be because of the recording material, maybe. But I think that's right to say, because I was hearing that as well. Anything else? Anything else? One thing I haven't talked to you guys about is woods. A lot of woods have different tones. Like, for example, Ethan's guitar, I believe that may be spruce. It's on the top part, the blonde part, and it's brighter, versus mine, which is a walnut, mahogany. Mine's going to be a little lower than his. So I think that's probably what we're listening to here as well. Then again, of course, you know, the mics may have made it brighter too. But yeah, so that's something to think about as well. But yeah, he's basically wrapping himself around that instrument as opposed to flute, which is kind of like, you know, you can just swallow it up. So, pretty interesting. Any questions about that so far? All right. We will continue to move on. This thing always starts over, like whenever I click to do it. I don't know. Interesting. Anyway, no big deal. Okay, so moving onward, maybe, hopefully. Let's see. There with me, you guys. It's either going slow or something happened. Let's see. Okay, so it's showing there. Try this one more time. I move really quick, so I think that's probably a situation. The technology can't keep up with me. All right, we'll just do it this way, so you guys can still see it. Be a lot easier. Okay, so now we're getting a little more into the realm of what we are more familiar with. So, the classical guitar, all right, is shaped like the modern acoustic guitar, but much smaller. Okay. It was created in the mid-1800s by a Spanish luthier and musician named Antonio de Torres Guardo. And it has 6 nylon strings and is usually played with the tips of the fingers. Okay? So we are in the ballpark of what we know of as a guitar today. We have 6 strings. The body style, the body shape is curved like it is, but it's a lot smaller. And of course, I have pictures of that for you guys to see as well. So we're starting to get there. Spanish instrument, you know, a lot of the time you hear it referred to as the Spanish guitar, you know, and you may or may not have already had this image in your head. Oh yeah, I know the guitar it's talking about, because it's associated with Spain. Obviously, the luthier was Spanish, and the nylon strings, which are more of a plastic. So we all have steel strings on our modern day guitars, but these are nylon strings, so like a plastic, and you really couldn't play with a pick. You played with your fingers because the pick was too, basically the pick was renovated when steel strings came into play. So that's why you mostly played it with your fingers. And we have a video on that for you as well. So you get to see that in a picture too. But moving on down the slide here, now we get into the modern day guitar. The acoustic guitar, otherwise known as the flat top, is what we define as the modern day guitar. And all of us guys and girls, we have these flat tops. And something that I've been playing guitar, you guys know, for a long time now. And one thing I've learned over the years is when there's a name given to a certain part of the guitar, its name is for the function. Okay? So flat top, meaning this part is flat right here. Okay? So maybe you can see, maybe not. We can look here and see that it is flat. Okay? And I didn't put it on my slide because that was just a little too far. But there are things called archtop guitars. Okay? And when you think of an arch, what do you think? Right, kind of curved. When a cat arches its back, it's a curve. Arch tops are not flat. They have a little curve in them. You typically see these on violins. You ever look at a violin hold up? There's like a little bump on top. Almost like it's pregnant, you know, almost. Kind of a weird analogy, but that's kind of the quickest thing to come up with. Arch tops, again, it's not on the slide, just a little fun fact for you. Arch tops were very popular in the jazz community in the early 1920s. And they still make them today. They're very interesting. Yeah, they're very interesting to look at. I actually have an archtop guitar at home, and it's an electric guitar, but it still has that little arch right up in here. It's a blonde guitar. It's very interesting. But again, we mostly deal with flat tops and acoustics, so I didn't really get into that. But anyway, maybe we'll get into that much later as the semester goes on. But with the guitar, the acoustic guitar, get this, it was developed by a German-born American named Christopher Frederick Martin. Now, when I say Martin, what do we think of in the guitar world? Martin Guitars, the very man who engineered Martin guitars. I don't think any of us have a Martin here. I think, let's see, Dana Lee has a Martin. She's not in here right now. She's over on the other side of the campus there. But yeah, so Martin as in Martin Guitars, he came up with his, basically the founding father of the flat top guitars we know today. And with the flat top guitar, we have the introduction of steel strings, which all of us are familiar with. We have them strung on our own guitars here. Because of the steel strings, the classical guitar, which was the guitar being used, couldn't handle it. The way it was structured and built, it couldn't, the stress of the tight steel strings would break it. So some ingenuity had to go through with it. With Martin's, he cultivated a guitar architecture, and he gave it an X bracing, so it's literally shaped like an X inside the hole of the guitar. It made it, because of this X bracing, it allowed it to withstand the stress of the steel strings. You guys may or may not be familiar with changing your strings, maybe not, but when you change your strings, when you put it through the bridge and you put in that headstock right there, and you start turning that tuning peg, you can feel that tension. You can hear it too because the pitch starts to go up, okay? And so on a classical guitar, obviously that would mesh. Your neck would snap and everything would cave in on itself. So this was definitely a must-do for Martin, and he did that and basically changed the whole guitar world as we know it. But this here is a classical guitar. Of course, you can see your granddad, it's not a classical guitar, but it's close to this build, you know, because the headstock, you know, is the pegs are behind it as opposed to there. And even the bridge, his bridge is the same. But you guys probably can't see it, but so if you look on my guitar, and even on your own here, some of you have the pegs that you stick in, and then my guitar, you just kind of string it through. Classical guitar is a lot more complicated than that. You have to tie it. You basically loop it. You stick it through, and then you knot it. It comes with a loop, but you have to feed it through the knot, tie it, and then string it up here. So it's a little more complicated, and the headstock gets more complicated too. Whereas you stick it in right there, again, it's kind of hard to explain, but you can't really see it on this picture, but there are little plastic rods that go from here to there. There's holes right here, basically. So it's not all solid, and you have to stick it through there, and I'm like, wow. I tried it once for somebody's guitar, and it was kind of frustrating. But anyway, I have a video, of course, here, and let's see. Andres Segovia was basically, in the 1960s, he was an older man, much older man, and he basically brought the classical guitar into the mainstream. He didn't invent it, obviously, but he definitely brought it into the mainstream, so we'll get to check that out. All right, let's see. Bear with me as I get this straightened out. Oh dear, too far. Okay. Any questions about anything so far?
People don't know you can use screw fibers for plate seats for less.
Alright, no problem. There's just an ad. If you guys can't see it. Let me get out of here so you guys can check it out. Alright, here we go. So we'll listen to a little bit of this. just hammer. Classical style right here. All fingers. So what do you think about that? You ever seen anybody play like that before? And you can kind of hear the strings have a more sweeter, mellow sound. And it's because they're basically made of plastic for the most part. I don't know if I know nowadays you can still buy nylon strings, but this string right here, the top string, and maybe even the one up under it, usually has steel on the inside of it. So it's still coated with the plastic. That's just so it'll, basically if it was all plastic, then you won't be able to hear it. It's evident. But anyway, yeah. A lot of my colleagues at Point that were guitar majors, they had classical guitars for their lessons. And they called it basically classical style, finger style is another name for it. And a lot of those guys walked around with one hand that had long nails on it so that they could pick. So, kind of interesting. But anyway, classical guitar. All right, now we move on to the flat top, which we've already obviously discussed. We're more familiar with this. This is actual Martin. And for the video, I thought it would be very appropriate to pick an Ed Sheeran song. Ed Sheeran is, I guess you could basically call him, he's one of the faces of Martin. He uses these Martin minis. They're still Martin guitars, they're smaller. But he's an avid Martin player, so I thought it was pretty, I like Ed Sheeran, and I thought it was pretty appropriate that we watched a video of him actually playing one of his songs. Just bear with me as I get in here. Look at that. Now it wants to act right. Isn't that crazy? Okay. So, anyway. Weird. It won't show you guys this, but...
What's wrong with you? You don't use Groupon? You might as well enter your wallet in this book.
Okay, let me start that over. So are any of you familiar with the Hobbit movie? Okay. Do you know at the, I think it's the end of the second one, when Smaug's flying through the air and plays that song? Anyway, it's from the movie. Yeah, it's confused. Okay.
From his native country. To you, babe. Oh, misty eye of the mountain below. Keep careful watch of my brother's soul. And should the sky be filled with fire and smoke, keep watching over June and sun.
So he's got a pedal he's using. He plays and taps it and it keeps looping. It's what he plays. That's what that's coming from. You see his feet moving down there. we'll go with that one. But yeah, you guys know that song? I think it played at the end of the second one, The Desolation of Smaug, I think. I almost, regretfully, wasn't able to because they cut it, but when I was at Point, I had one of my colleagues, he was putting on a worship concert, which was his, senior recital basically, and he wanted to do that song. And so he wanted my roommate to play it on guitar and he wanted me to sing it. I was like, yeah. And literally in the rehearsal for his dress rehearsal, they cut it, so I wasn't able to sing it. So I was like, man. So anyway, it's kind of like this haunting thing that I've always had over my head, like, man, I wish I could do it. So anyway, all right, so that is it for our slide. Now, let's get to playing now, shall we? Okay, so Ethan, I believe you're up first, my friend. Go ahead and get seated up here and get straight out. Straight out, sir.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Perfect. Drop it down, huh?
I'm gonna have to let it right back.
You're right, yeah. That's pretty good. All right, so let's make sure we're in tune with each other before we get started. Go ahead and strum me a G major. That's gonna be good. All right, sir. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, and trailer for sale or rent. Rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. I've 2 hours of pushing broom bison. 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. 3rd boxcar, midnight train. Destination Bangor, Maine. Old worn out clothes and shoes. I don't pay no union dues. I smoke old stogies I have found. Short but not too big around. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. I know every engineer on every train, and all of their children, all of their names, and every handout in every town, and every lock that ain't locked when no one's around. I sing trailer for sale or rent. Rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. I've 2 hours of pushing broom bison. 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. Trailers for sale or rent. Rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. I've 2 hours of pushing broom bison. 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. Yeah, very good, very good. You go ahead and have a seat there, sir. Before we move on to the next one, I'd like to talk to Ethan real quick. You guys, of course, just sit there. So let me ask you something. Why did you pick that song of all songs?
It's a lot of bar chords, and I'm trying to get better at the bar chords.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Need to work on those.
Yeah. Typically a lot of people learn the opposite. They learn the open chords first. I don't know what it was.
It's a hard time with work.
Yeah.
I guess because I don't know, my hands are small. It's kind of.
Yeah, the thing is, it's different. I mean, my hands are bigger than yours, but when I started playing bar chords, it was like, it felt like the size of yours. Which your hands are, I think you can get the bar chords, no problem. Not saying you have big hands or anything like that. I'm just saying dexterity. I think you'd be surprised at how well it would come to you. But yeah, again, when I had my teacher, he told me Barco was first, and so it was the opposite. I was like having trouble with open chords. It was strange as that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's weird. All right, how do you feel about it?
I feel like I could use a little work. Just I'm getting I guess the pressure down so it doesn't buzz or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the main thing I need to work on. Is like these ones at the end usually start buzzing the
Yeah.
longer I play.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, and we talked about that when you drop down, it's yeah. Again, we could try that, but it's harder.
Yeah.
It's just easier. But yeah, good work. Half the battle was getting up, step to the plate, going for it. So I'm glad you jumped up to the plate. Very good.
I just realized it too.
What song you been playing for us, Kendall? Okay, fantastic. We will get you straightened out with
Oh, no.
the tuning before we start.
I say this one probably does need some changes.
How could I have guessed? I'm just kidding.
I haven't been able to do it.
No, I understand. See, and strange enough, that's the bad tuner. My good tuner is the bad tuner. Can you see anything in the window?
A little bit.
Okay. You get finished, I'll double check, just because that right there is hard to read. It's old tuner. It's old tuner, John Wesley.
Yes,
Yeah. New, fresh batter and everything, I guess it's just old now.
Here, you have the truth.
Sure. No problem. All right, let's do this thing. Let's see what we got. All right. That's probably a strum line. See if it sounds the same. Let me see.
Yes.
You got it, ma'am.
Yes.
Go ahead and strum for me, see if we're in tune. It's gonna be fine. Very good. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right, so, sorry, what we'll do is we'll just kind of play we'll play the chorus a little before we get started into it, kind of set the mood, if that's all right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we start. See? You try your best, but you don't succeed. When you get what you want, but not what you need. Got it? When you feel so tired, but you can't sleep. Stuck in reverse. And the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone
time, but it goes to waste. Could it be worse?
Here it comes.
Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Back to the easy part now.
And high up above or down below, when you're too in love to let it go.
In that G, yeah.
But if you never try, you'll never know just what you're worth.
Lights will guide.
Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Here we go.
Tears stream down your face when you lose something you cannot replace. Tears stream down your face, and tears stream down your face. I promise you I will learn from my mistakes. Tears stream down your face, and
Oh, that G. Alright. Now to the F.
lights will guide you home
Yeah.
and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get the chord change
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. That's the tricky one, right?
It is, it is. I need to practice more. I'm guilty of not, which I'm busy. I never get off.
Yeah.
My only off days are school. So.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's
That's,
homework.
that's
so.
part of it. Part of it knowing. So yeah, that's good. I'm glad you tried it though. You've done a lot better with that song than you have though. So I commend you for that. You really jumped in, and I heard a lot more coming from you this time than I have in the past. So why this song?
For one, Coldplay is one of my favorite bands. I'm into like the 2000 pop, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. And I guess I know it, so it's a little easier. And
Naturally.
then the chords seem to be a little easier for me too.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
It's a little slower, so the chord changing is easier for me to grasp.
Yeah.
The constant changing.
Yeah,
I
I
never get lost.
totally get it. I totally get that. This is one of my favorite songs for sure. I may have told you I did this my senior recital when I was at Point.
I think you did.
Yeah, that's why I like it so much for sure. Anything is, you've already mentioned a few things, but like if there was any other things that you could do differently as far as playing it, what would you do? You already mentioned the chord changes, practicing those a little better. Is there anything else?
Just strumming rhythm down.
Yeah.
My hand kind of wants to be away.
Sure. Again, I commend you because you really jumped in there and you were trying some rhythm, so that was very good. Yeah, yeah. Again, I wish I could have showed you guys something a little more solidified. you jumped in and I saw it, it was really good. So is this a song that you would want to perform in public? Would you ever want to perform this song in
If I
public?
got it down pat, yeah.
Would you sing it too?
Depends.
Is that the ball game for you right there? Something else, yeah. I understand. Maybe.
Kayla's a
Say,
singer.
yeah, you could
Kayla's a
probably
singer.
team up with Kane and let her sing and you would have done every duo. Yeah, good. Well, very good, Kittle. Very good. Very good, for sure. All right, Mr. John Wesley. You'll be fine, sir. King of the road, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. Snag that tuner from you. Thank you, man. All right, sir, let's get you tuned up. Very good. Do you need a fresh sheet?
Nah, I got it.
Okay.
There we go.
Now, do you want to sing this one and let me play with you, or do you want me to sing it and play? You did a really good job singing it last time.
I like singing. I try to do both.
Okay. Sounds good to me. What?
I sing nursery rhymes to my child.
Do you?
That's about it.
Well, hey, that's a start. That's where you start right there. And that can progress to something else, yeah. Failed, didn't it?
Okay, just
Crazy.
Mm.
Just fell on the ground.
I'll do it. I don't need it anyway. I'm just happy.
All right, sir. Right. King of the road.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we got to tune you up before we get started. Make sure we got you all right.
Where's that? There we go.
Turn on. Can you see it? Go ahead. Yeah. Strange.
That's better.
All right. Very good.
We good?
We're good. Very good, John Wesley.
Ooh.
Got much better tuning. All right.
Good.
Ready to do this, sir?
I'm gonna try this best I can.
Yeah, you're going to be fine. I believe in you. All right.
It's hard. My finger's so small. Get all the way up there.
Oh, yeah. I believe you can do it. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, ready.
Praises for sale, rent, rooms to let 56. No phone, no pets. Ain't got no cigarettes out of 2 hours of pushing boom by 8 to 12 time. Man of means by no means, king of the road. rock star, midnight train, destination Tango Bay. Old worn out clothes and shoes. I don't pay no union dues. I smoke old stories I have found. Sure, but not too big around. And I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road. I know that every engineer on every train, all of their children and all of their names, and every handout in every town, and every life that ain't locked when no one's around. I seen trailers for sale or rent, rooms to let 50 cents, no phone, no food, no rents. Ain't got no cigarettes, I'm 2 hours of pushing room by. 8 by 12 4-wheel. I'm a man of men by no means. King of the road. Trailers for sale or rent, rooms to let no stress. I ain't got no cigarettes, I'm 2 hours of pushing room by. 8 by 12 4-wheel. I'm a man of means by no means. King of the road.
Very good. All right, John Wesley. So why that song for?
Well, I like really old music.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the reason you remember the song when I said it, I
Yeah.
mentioned it, and I just really like old new country music.
Yeah.
I sing it in the car all the way down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard you sing it one day, and I was like, that's one from my childhood as well. We got to play it.
Oh, Warren?
Yeah. Riding around with him when I was coming up.
Yes, sir.
So I know you like to sing a lot. Okay. I've seen videos on Facebook of you singing in church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that you would ever perform this song in public?
Yes, sir.
I think you would too, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Maybe not in church. Maybe not. I mean, it's not really a bad song. You can probably
Yes, sir.
sing it in church, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. definitely at a cookout or something like that. For sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If anything, they get a kick out of it. for
Yes,
sure,
sir.
'cause it's one of those. Again, it's one of those songs that is very
Yes, sir.
liked by the community for sure.
Well, my family already makes me sing a lot. I sing
Yeah.
in church a lot of times, so solos and solos.
So yeah, you do. That's some of the stuff I've seen
Yes.
on Facebook for sure. Definitely. So, did you enjoy yourself singing this song?
Yes, sir.
You did. I think you did too.
It's just really hard to play a lot of times, sing it and
Yeah.
look at it and then play at the same
Yeah.
time.
Definitely. It's as you progress as a guitar player or even as a musician, you start to be able to put two and two together.
Yes,
I know when I first started, it was definitely hard to do. I think I played more than sang,
Yes, sir.
just because I was learning to play, and then
Yes.
obviously,
That's how it is with piano for me.
Yeah.
I can't sing.
yeah, multitasking. I think is the word. Yeah, it's definitely a trifling thing for sure. But with much repetitiveness of practice and all that fun stuff, playing out, performing actually is some of the best practice you'll ever get. So always keep that in mind too. In a way, it's like you're always practicing, even if you're not really practicing,
Yes.
like a performance and stuff. But yeah, that's very good. Very good. Let's see. That's good. Any questions, John Wesley?
No, sir.
You did good. Good. Thanks for stepping up to the plate. And your tuning has gotten a lot better.
Yes.
Tuning the guitar, I was very impressed with that. Very good. All right, sir, you can have a seat there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. All right.
I'm a lot better than the piano. I've been doing that for a few years, so I'm a lot better than that.
Yeah, that's right. You've been playing for a while. So, thoughts? Anybody? It's open floor. What are we thinking? I know we kind of went over some stuff one-on-one, but overall, what are we thinking? Anybody got any comments or anything like that? As far as playing goes, anything?
As far as playing goes guitar, like, I don't think I could have learned it all myself.
Yeah.
So like this class definitely helped me out.
Very good.
Piano, on the other hand, I don't know how in the world I've learned it, but I don't know.
Yes.
I took lessons and it didn't turn out good. She just wanted to like get angry at me because I would not read the notes.
Yeah,
I just kind of listened by ear, so
gotcha.
most of everything was by ear. So I mean, this is helping me out.
Very good. And this can help. This can and will help with your piano too. In different ways, but it's definitely helped me out learning the piano. So I'm opposite of you. I've learned the piano at a point. I had been playing guitar previously for 10 years, and so because I learned that, I noticed my playing, I could start hearing stuff, and so I was like, oh yeah, I want that. So yeah, it's very good. And you came in, y'all kind of piggyback on each other. You kind of help each other out a lot.
Yeah.
So that's maybe where that piano stuff comes from. That's good. I like to hear you play sometime on the piano. Not on that one. That was out of tune.
I was about to say, it looks a little like.
Yeah, I would have played earlier. I was like, okay. Any thoughts, Ethan?
Well, like I said, this class has helped out a good bit. I thought I was never going to get bar chords or anything like that. Just kind of trying to do those over and over in class has helped out significantly with the sound of them and whatnot.
Oh,
So
good.
I've never tried any kind of bar chords or anything previous
Yeah.
to this class.
So, do you teach, you don't teach piano, do you?
Not right now, I don't. That might change maybe one day, possibly. But I do strictly guitar and banjo for right now. And I'd love to do voice more because I was a vocal major in college. And
So, the girl I take from piano for, you know where my grandpa lives?
yes, I do.
Right, you know, and we call it the studio, so right behind his house, but, it's Tuesday, there's a girl who comes around, I think it's Newside, comes down from Newside,
Yeah.
her name's Miss Gail Douglas, and she does piano lessons, if anyone wants to take or anything.
Okay. And you take from her?
There's a lot to take from her,
Yeah. New site.
4 or 5 kids that come.
How old is Gail Douglas?
I don't overestimate or anything, I mean, many of my kids.
Is she an elderly
Smart-
lady
smart
or
guy.
younger?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say probably 60s.
Okay.
70s.
See, I'm at school at New Site.
Yes.
What you been so? Gail, I know Miss Gail.
Yes,
Yeah, she's
yes.
got kind of blondish hair, right?
Yeah.
She trained me in singing the national anthem.
Yes.
Oh, Miss Gail. Goodness, yes. Real sweet lady. Has a really sweet face.
Yes.
Doesn't she? Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, you guys have made progress today in your own ways. So, because as the teacher, I'm always watching, and so I've noticed some progress. So very good. Very proud of you guys. Thanks for coming to class here. I know we have people that are, out over there, and that can't be helped. So it's good. I'm glad you guys came to class. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video, and then we can continue on for sure.